Hi, and welcome back to The Growth Show. I'm your host, Whitney, and today's episode is one you definitely do not want to miss, especially if you're trying to navigate the complex world of legal protection for your business. I'm so excited to welcome Kristin Santamaria. Kristin is one of the two attorney co-founders of Dotted Lines, where she and her BFF, Kelly, help health and wellness entrepreneurs get confident and have peace of mind with a comprehensive legal protection strategy. Kristin has over a decade of legal experience and started her career working at a large international law firm where she helped entrepreneurs ranging from small startups to Fortune 100 companies draft their contracts, form their legal entities, and protect their businesses. So she knows what she's talking about. She now loves serving the cause of health and wellness professionals and coaches through legal contract templates and legal education so they can grow their reach and amplify their impact. And you'll hear a little bit how she got into this niche, which is a really great story as well when we dive into her interview. And in today's episode, Kristin is going to talk through some of the mistakes that she sees entrepreneurs make when it comes to legal protections for their business and the must-haves that you really need to have in place, whether you're just getting started or you've been in business for a while, but maybe haven't thought about the legal stuff. And we really talk a lot too about, it doesn't have to be something that is scary or intimidating. And Kristin's demeanor and way she approaches legal stuff, I think will set anyone's mind at ease. So I am just very excited to share this episode with you. Let's dive in. Welcome, Kristin, to the show. I am so excited to be chatting with you here today.
Yes, thanks so much for having me, Whitney. Likewise, just excited to chat with you.
Yeah. We've talked and chatted before in the past. And so I'm excited to have you officially on the podcast and talk about this very important topic of legal protection for our businesses and legal knowledge. And I think it can be a super intimidating topic for a lot of people. And what's really interesting about you is that you focus specifically on health and wellness nutrition professionals. So what called you to work with that specific niche of entrepreneurs?
Yeah, definitely. So it was my own health struggle. I feel like so many people that get into this space, they have had like their fair share of health issues that brought them here. So a few years ago, my husband and I went through a really difficult secondary infertility journey. And, kind of after exhausting all of my options through conventional medicine, I was like, let me look into this whole nutrition and health and wellness thing. Maybe there's something there. So it's like my last ditch effort, right? And then completely blew my mind, changed my world, completely changed my health. I worked with an RD one-on-one. I took courses from health coaches. So kind of had like a big mix of people that I had been exposed to and worked with on my journey, but just completely transformed my life in every way. My husband's autoimmune condition went into remission. We had our second baby girl, have another one on the way, actually.
Oh, congratulations.
So just super, just changed my health dramatically. And I just had my eyes open to this whole world of practitioners, whether they're registered dietitians who are kind of moving into a coaching practice or health coaches, other types of nutritionists that were doing really, really important work. And just kind of saw that there was a huge need for legal information and education and really accessible, easy to use templates for them and their businesses. So that's kind of how I got into it. I spent many years working with all different types of entrepreneurs. And so it was really just fantastic for me to find a space that I'm so passionate about and just love serving, because I know how important the work that, you all do is. So it's just been so much fun.
Oh, man, that I love that story so much. And I think there's so much of that in this space. I'm a dietitian too, but I don't practice anymore. But I am also so passionate about helping these professionals because we know how much people need the services of health coaches, nutritionists, dietitians to just feel better. And I think it's just so powerful that you have that story and that you've been on the other side of it as a client and a customer too. And I'm sure that maybe has shaped some of how you advise your entrepreneur clients right now, or the things that you kind of know could pop up for them because you've literally been on the other side of it too.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's so true.
Awesome. So, all right, let's just dive into it because, legal stuff, it can be very intimidating, and you picked this spot because you saw an opportunity. So Do you see any common legal mistakes or mishaps that entrepreneurs make when they're just starting out?
Yeah, definitely. So, and before I dive in, I'll just note that, of course, nothing I'm discussing here is legal advice. We don't form attorney-client relationships through dotted line. So, everything we do is educational in nature, and we always do recommend that people find a local attorney if they have any specific legal questions for their business. But kind of with that behind us, in terms of kind of like some little, mistakes or mishaps that people make when they're just starting out, like you mentioned, legal can be very intimidating. So for anyone who's listening to here who does not have some things we'll talk about later, maybe in place, don't feel bad. It's totally understandable and it's a whole new world. So there's always a time to get it taken care of. But I think one of the thing we would love to see people kind of, move away from when it comes to just getting started out in their business is waiting until kind of a certain milestone is hit to get their legal protection in place. I know some people will think I need to see, X number of clients, or I need to be in business for 6 months, or, have a certain amount of revenue before I take my business seriously and, invest in some legal protection. But really what we see this, do is it just kind of holds people back from like getting their business out there, feeling really confident and growing and reaching those clients that need their help, because they are worried about legal liabilities kind of in the back of their head. They're thinking, I don't have my legal ducks in a row. I don't have contracts, or I have, something that my colleague gave to me. I don't feel confident. I maybe don't even know what's in it, which is totally
Yeah.
understandable. We have customers that say, they didn't even know what was in their contracts before. So, there are some really basic things that you can do if you're just getting started out that won't break the bank, but can give you a ton of peace of mind and just give you that confidence to grow your business, which I think we'll probably get into later. But that's kind of one of the things we'd love to see people move away from, is just getting a few basic things in place as soon as you get started. And then as you grow, you can build that out further. You can take on, new offerings, get new contracts to protect those, but at least getting some of those basic protections in place ASAP is super, super important. And then kind of another thing that goes along with this is, as soon as you have your website up and running, as you know, Whitney, there are some website policies that you need to have on your website. The one I'm thinking of primarily is your privacy policy, but required for anyone who has a website. You've got to be kind of satisfying these privacy laws that are out there that require you to disclose a whole bunch of really boring but important information to people who are visiting your website. So that's kind of another one that I think a lot of people don't even realize when they're starting out. They get their website up and running, and then they don't really think twice about having these policies on there. But something really important that we like to see people not skip over from the beginning too.
Yeah. Yep. The website policies, it can feel like, oh, surprise, like what's this? And they're not hard to get. I know you guys offer them. We talk about them even in our website program. It is like one of the modules, like getting your legal documents. They're not complicated, but yeah, it's just some boilerplate stuff that you need to disclose, and having those things in place. And I really like what you said before about this milestone that people think that they need to hit, but then it ends up backfiring a little bit, because you're thinking like, well, okay, I only have a few clients, so what's the worst that could happen if I don't have contracts with them? But then at the same time, it's like, well, I don't have any legal protections right now. So do I really want to now have 5 more clients that I'm also not protecting myself with? And so it's this like, okay, cart before the horse, or it's this cycle that is holding you back, because on the one hand, you're like, well, I'm not going to do this until I have more clients, but I also don't really want to get more clients until I have this in place, because it is putting you more at risk. And I think you would probably, I don't know, I'll let you weigh in here too. Like, legal protections, it's kind of like insurance. It's like it's something you need to have for that time when something goes wrong. Most of the time, things are great. And so this is not to scare anyone or feel like, oh my gosh, everyone's out to get you and you have to protect yourself. But especially in the health and wellness space, I think there are things that we need to be aware of as practitioners, and just protecting our customers, protecting ourselves. And they're just things that you need to have. And that way you can be working confidently and growing and not worrying when's the other shoe going to drop.
Yeah, exactly. No, I couldn't agree with you more, Whitney. We've had people come through, our programs that are in like amazing business coaching programs, and they're, investing a lot in their business, but they're like, I cannot bring myself to really get myself out there until I get my legal ducks in a row, which is totally understandable. So, I know that can definitely hold a lot of people back, and we don't want that. We want you guys to get out there, be confident about your business, grow your business, as fast as you can. And legal is something that can be easily taken care of, that does not need to be a roadblock for you for that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's such great input too.
Yeah. And I love that you guys make it more accessible and easy. So it's like, yeah, you don't need to have a lawyer, and we'll get talking about specifically what you offer and how you help people. But I love that it's like, you don't need to have a lawyer on retainer necessarily. Like, it doesn't have to be this big, gigantic thing. So let's dive into, like, for a new business, what are some of those non-negotiables and things to get started in terms of legal protection?
Yeah, definitely. So I think kind of the first thing to, look into, and I don't think that everyone has to have a legal entity, which is something like a limited liability company. For a lot of coaches, that is, kind of a legal entity of choice. It's a great option, but at least to have considered forming that legal entity as soon as possible, just because it does provide such huge protections for you as a business owner. So basically, if you form a limited liability company, for instance, and this is pretty much the same for different types of legal entities. Like I mentioned, LLC is going to be the most popular for people that are offering or working in kind of that more of that coaching style practice. But, if you have an LLC up and running, basically it creates this kind of fence around your personal assets and your business assets, meaning that if something, came up in your business, let's say the very unlikely event it happened, someone sued you in your business, you don't have to worry about your personal savings account, your personal assets being at risk. So that is huge. So meaning that, any kind of claim that did, go through in terms of your business would be limited to your business assets. So you'd be paying that out of your business bank account. It would be a liability of your business, not your own personal savings account, personal assets. So I think that one is just really crucial for people to at least put in a lot of thought into. And in most states, it is not a complicated thing. Most states here in the US, you can find a lot of information on the Secretary of State's website. If you want to do it yourself, you can file it. Most states, it's around like $345-ish, $350 to get it filed. There are some states like New York and California, which love to make things difficult and extra expensive. So we definitely have some people that are in those states that choose not to form an LLC. They kind of know the risks and are thinking of it, as they move down later in the line of their business. But I think that's something that's really important to at least put some thought into. And definitely most of the people in our programs are, they have an LLC up and running. They have a legal entity. They've got those protections in place. Just does massive things for your quality of sleep, I think, as a business owner, to not have to worry about anything in your, personal savings account, your family's assets being subject to anything that might come up in your business.
Yeah.
And then in terms of some other basic things, of course, having some contracts in place for your offerings. If you're doing one-on-one offerings, you want to have that one-on-one client agreement. We also use something called an assumption of risk and release of liability in those situations, which really just make clear your scope of practice and give you that kind of full peace of mind that your clients are going to take on any kind of risk that is associated with working with you. Because like you mentioned, Whitney, in the health and wellness field, it is a little bit more of a higher risk, field, just because you are helping people with things that affect their health and wellness. You may have a client that does not tell you about medications they're on, or they may not communicate well with their physician about their, supplements, things like that. So you really just want to make sure you're protected in that situation. And it really does a lot just for your client relationship too, making sure you're both on the same page, that you really have that trustworthy relationships, from day one, that they know you take your business seriously, and then also you've put in these protections to make sure that they have a great experience with you, and just make sure that you're protected as a business owner. And then business insurance, super important for people to get in place, as soon as they can, I think, for most people. And I know the Academy offers some business insurance that's really, really affordable. I know there are different types of insurance companies out there that tailor to health and wellness businesses, but usually this is a very low cost, maybe a couple $100s, probably less a year to put that in place. And it can just do a lot for your peace of mind as well. And then finally, probably scope of practice, understanding your scope of practice, understanding kind of how you can and cannot work with clients. You don't want to be crossing into providing any kind of medical advice, or if, let's say, that you're not licensed in certain states in which you're working with clients, you want to make sure you're not providing medical nutrition therapy. So we really get into a lot of that and working with clients across state lines in what we do here at Dotted Lines, but making sure you have some basic understandings and kind of peace of mind around that, I think, is really important as well.
Yeah, that comes up so much, the across state lines thing. And, a lot of people wanting to have this online business that is something that you can operate and reach a lot of people, but then where does that scope of practice fall, and with the kinds of services that you're offering? So I think that's a really great point. And it can be something where you can have a blend, like maybe you're offering one service that is more in depth, and maybe it is medical nutrition therapy and you're only seeing people in Illinois. But then if you're doing general coaching, you can maybe be, it doesn't have to be all or nothing, but it is about being clear and having the right contracts, I'm sure, in place, and disclosures and all of that based on the service as well and what you're offering.
Yeah, that's exactly right with Whitney. We always want people to, just like you said, know there are different options in different states. And we definitely have people in our programs who accept insurance, they practice medical nutrition therapy, in their state of licensure. And then they have a separate arm of their business that is the coaching style practice, where they're not providing medical nutrition therapy, they're working more across state lines. They may have like a course through that part of their business. So it can definitely be done. It doesn't have to be, impossible to make that happen. But I think just having some knowledge around those topics can do a lot for you in terms of knowing what your options are and how you can grow your business. I think that's just super important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so much in life and in business is when we have fear, it's because there's fear or anxiety. It's because we're just not clear yet and we don't understand yet. And the only way to get through that fear of, can I offer this in my business? How do I start my business? Where do I even get started? It's getting that answer, because the answer's out there. Millions of people have started businesses, run businesses. So it is a solvable problem to figure out. It's just finding, I think, then the other part of it, and we were talking a little bit about hiring before we started recording, is finding those people that can support you and help you. I think that's like half the battle when it comes to business too. It's like, okay, I know that the resources are out there, but how do I get someone who can be on my side, in my court, helping me navigate and figure it out? They know they're a couple steps ahead of me and they figured it out. And so I think anyone who's feeling intimidated by some of this, know that there are resources out there like Kristin and Dotted Lines, and just it's solvable. You just need to get the answers and get the clarity, and that's going to make it a lot easier for you to move forward and just keep growing, because this doesn't have to be a barrier that holds you back. It is scary. It is something that you're not familiar with, but it's something that can definitely be figured out and move past.
Yes, definitely. Couldn't agree more with that, Whitney. And just, reinforce what you said, that there's so many resources out there, even like Whitney, if you are looking to get your website up and running, right? That you don't have to figure everything out for yourself, and kind of tapping into people that really understand your industry and have gone through that, gone through all the steps, researched all the things for you, can just save you a lot of time and your sanity as a business owner, because we all know starting your own business, you've got to learn the marketing, you've got to learn the selling, all of the things that no one was taught in school, most likely. And so I think just having people like Whitney or us or so many other people that, work with business owners, tapping into resources there is just super, super important.
Yep, for sure. So let's say that we've got someone listening right now and they've been in business for maybe a year or two. They have more than a couple clients. Is it too late for them to do this stuff if they've been in business for a while?
Definitely not. So never too late. We like to say that, if you intend to keep operating your business, if you intend to grow your business, getting legally protected, no matter if you've been in business for 10 years or more, is a great. It's better late than never for sure. And although, legal protection does a lot, but it cannot extend to acts in the past. So, it can't kind of fix anything in the past, but it will protect you with everything going forward. So as long as you intend to grow, as long as you intend to keep seeing clients, you want to, continue to kind of amplify your impact in your industry, go ahead and get your legal protection in place. It's definitely never too late. We've had people join some of our programs that have been in business for over 10 years. But we spoke at a conference not too long ago, and someone was in the audience who said they had been in business for over 10 years. They have, multi six-figure practice, and they had not heard a lot of the things that we talked about. And they, decided to go ahead and get it taken care of. So definitely never too late. As I kind of touched on before, getting contracts and all of that set up sounds super boring, but we make it really, really easy through the templates, the kind of the template style way that we work with people. And it does a lot for your clients too. So it really helps them, put that trust in your business that, from day one, you're sending them this really professionally drafted contract. And a lot of times that's like their first real contact with you once they decide to work with you. And they're going to probably be sharing a lot of really personal information about their health journey. They may be feeling nervous. That shows them that you've really take your business seriously, that you put these protections in place, and that they're going to have a really professional relationship with you. I think just goes a long way. So, never too late to protect your business. And then it will also do a lot for you just in terms of your client relationships as well.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we talk a lot about that customer journey and that customer experience and how, it starts at the website when people are signing up for a discovery call and you want that to be professional. And to your point, we also want that initial onboarding and purchase of whatever that service is to also be an indicator of the quality, because I think we spend so much time in like, what handout are we going to give them? How are we going to structure our calls? What services do they need? What tests do they need? And all of that is super, super important. But we also need to build that full experience for our customers, because like you said, it's giving them that trust that you are going to protect their information. You're going to be organized. They are going to share so much. I know I wouldn't want to share a lot of personal details with someone that I then feel isn't going to take that information seriously or follow through. And maybe I have to go through the whole experience again with someone new. Like, we really want to give that support. And I think that's just such an interesting is to think that like having the good contracts, having the legal, the protections and all of that is showing support for our customers. Yes, we're protecting ourselves, but we're showing our customers that we have thought through things.
Yes, definitely. And it just makes sure, that you guys are on the same page in terms of what you're offering too. You don't want to kind of have someone think you're offering one thing when you're really offering another, or maybe, XYZ is not included in the package they bought. So just kind of having that really clear, very, very detailed description of services in your contract alone, I think can do a lot for making sure people are excited to kind of take advantage of everything that's in your program. But then B, if there is some sort of misunderstanding, you can just kind of easily point back to the contract. And a lot of times having that contract in place can just prevent things from escalating to any kind of dispute because you've got it all in writing. It's right there. It makes it really easy for you as a business owner to kind of handle those questions because you can just point back to your contract. It just makes things so much more, seamless and professional for your client relationships too, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think too, if you're bringing people into maybe a second practitioner who's going to work in your business or anyone who is working within your business, even a virtual assistant or anything like that, I'm assuming we're also looking at having contracts with them too.
Yes, definitely, for sure. Yeah, we want to make sure that we talk a lot about this. We in one of our programs we do offer Q&As, and we had some Q&A questions on this actually just last week about hiring practitioners on and whether whether they're contractors or employees. So there's definitely kind of a lot to take into account there, but you obviously, like you said, Whitney, you want to make sure that you are not only having those contracts with your clients, your customers, but also with your contractors. And then if you do, end up having employees, you for sure want to have an employment agreement with them as well. That's equally important. Make sure that you get that protected. So there's kind of the, outside facing contracts, and then there's the contracts that are kind of governing those relationships within your own business too. So definitely a lot goes into making sure you're legally protected as you grow.
For sure. And we may have touched on all of the reasons at this point, but are there any other benefits that we want to highlight in terms of having contracts in your business?
Yeah, so I think another thing that people worry about, particularly in the online space, whether you are offering one-on-one coaching or you're doing group coaching or maybe you've moved into courses, but it's just protecting your intellectual property. As online practitioners, you're probably sharing a lot about your programs on your website. You're probably, you have free downloads that people are accessing where they can get access to a lot of your, protocols and the way you work with people. So you really want to make sure that that is protected. I think a lot of people getting into this space, rightfully so, have some reservations about, people just stealing their work, which is, happens sometimes. And it's just very unfortunate because, you put so much time and effort into your protocols and your approach. And if you have like worksheets that people get when they sign up to work with you or guides, or you maybe even have like videos, you want to make sure you're doing what you can to protect those, and your contracts is a great way to have some protections built in for you in terms of kind of what type of license are you offering when people join your programs. Is it an unlimited license to use your content? Definitely not. It's a limited license for their personal use only. Just clarifying it cannot be used for their for any kind of commercial purposes. Really giving you, again, that kind of way to point people back if you find out that someone is sharing something that, is your intellectual property, whether it's your freebie and they've taken it and they're using it as their own freebie, or maybe something in one of your paid programs. So you can easily point back to and say, hey, when you downloaded this, you agreed to our terms and conditions of our website. Which one of those is, we have these IP protections built in, or when you signed up as to be a member of our course community, you agreed to this. So I think having those IP protections can go a long way for people and just getting confident again to actually get their information, education out there. And then I think, beyond that, of course, being able to limit your liability to your customers, just giving you that peace of mind that even in the health and wellness space, your business is going to be protected. If something did come up, ensuring you get paid, you need to have your payment terms in writing to make sure that you can enforce that. If someone were to not pay you or will want a refund, you just want to make sure all of that is very clear in your contract so that, again, it's super easy to point back to them and kind of remind people that a lot of times that is all you need to do. So, particularly, I think the IP protection piece is another huge reason to go ahead and get your contracts in place too.
Yeah, I have definitely heard that concern. And I know so much of what I talk about in the podcast is about this content marketing and putting your content out there. And I think people are concerned that someone's going to take my content and Or yeah, you're pouring yourself into your program and then you're concerned that someone might share some of your resources and all of that. And it's just another piece of just getting protected, laying it all out, and feeling like, you know what? If anything happens, I can just point back to this and take care of it. And, I've heard of people having issues, and I've had some issues in the past seeing some of my things used in different places. And, yeah, you can involve lawyers, but I think also having the things in writing, and this is maybe like going a little too off, but just having it in writing and having that conversation with that person can help you avoid having to go to that like degree of hiring a lawyer and filing things, but at least you have it in writing, as opposed to like you have no legs to stand on and approaching this person. So I don't know, I feel like maybe it just makes it easier to kind of maybe nip some things in the bud earlier and sooner than having to go to more serious legal action.
Yes, I totally agree with that 100%.
Okay, I want to make sure I wasn't off board. Like, oh no, I know I'm the web designer. I'm not the lawyer.
No, that's 100% true. I think that's kind of the funny thing about like, people, like we kind of mentioned at the beginning, sometimes, legal sounds intimidating and all of that. And I totally, can understand that perspective, but kind of getting your, contracts and your protections in place from, as a business owner, like you mentioned, can kind of actually really prevent you from having to deal with any kind of disputes. So it's kind of like get the easy part done, and then you have your contracts to rely back on, so that you don't have to deal with, hopefully don't ever have to deal with a dispute or something like that, or engaging a lawyer to help you with stolen IP or something like that. So it can just be super helpful.
It's prevention. We want to prevent things from happening if we can.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. And so in terms of like contracts too, I think it's interesting to call out the fact that they can be agreed to in so many different ways too. It doesn't mean that every time someone buys your course that they have to do a digital signature. Whereas, when I was selling services, I would have people actually, there's the proposal, you agree to the proposal, and then you sign the contract digitally and all of that. But then now when I sell my course, there's a little checkbox, agree to the terms and conditions. So there's a million and one different ways to have people agree to these things too. They don't have to feel cumbersome. They just need to be clearly accessible if people are going to agree to them. You can kind of make it easy.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we definitely don't expect for anyone to be like printing things out, signing it on a piece of paper and scanning it back. So, like you mentioned, Whitney, for a lot of people doing like one-on-one work or even group coaching, like digital signatures are very popular, super easy to get people to, kind of get that taken care of. But if you've got a course, membership, things like that, like you mentioned, having it just a part of your checkout process, a little checkbox is super, super easy, for in terms of your perspective as a business owner and their perspective to get it agreed to. So
yeah, for sure. No one wants to have to do a digital signature for buying a $50 product or something like that, or something larger. So when it's a more like a streamlined, automated purchase process. And one other thing that I wanted to mention that I found in my business is sometimes my contract grows and evolves as I encounter new things and learn. You kind of like, you start with one contract, and then as things come up that maybe you're not covered in that contract, or you realize that maybe some of that wording is confusing or it's being misconstrued or something like that, I think permission to update and evolve, the same way I tell people, your copy on your website is evolving as you learn from your customers and you grow your business and, change. Like, I think our legal documents need to also reflect the new things that we're learning in our business too.
definitely. No, I think that's such a great point. And I think that's, we like doing that too in terms of our contracts. Like we kind of notice a lot of people now are offering, guarantees or kind of, the guaranteeing results, things like that, and kind of the terms and conditions around that when they have programs. So we're working on building that into our contracts. But yeah, just like you said, your contracts are kind of one of those things that should be evolving, and should be, changing as you expand new things into your offerings. You're going to want to update that. So definitely, once a quarter, for sure once every 6 months, kind of taking a read through your contracts, making sure, you don't want to tweak anything based on either changes in your business or, like you said, things that clients have brought up to you that may be confusing to them, I think is super important and just can make the process that much better for you in the future. So I think that's an excellent point too.
Yeah. 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 Everything in our business is growing and evolving, but it's a good thing. It means that we're learning and moving forward. And, but the legal stuff is no different. So, all right. Well, what resources do you recommend for entrepreneurs to learn more about legal protection and move forward with this?
Yeah, definitely. So you can follow us on Instagram at Dotted Line Contracts. We try to offer a lot of very helpful tips and tidbits there. So if you're looking for, just kind of a way to kind of see some of the topics we talk about, I think that is a great way to do it. We also have a great free legal guide available that is like our top kind of 15 tips to, get legally protected. We wanted it to be like, more than what we could talk about on a podcast, something like that. So if you want to see kind of the, top 15 things we would think about in terms of, expanding on some of the things we talked about today, that is fantastic. And you can get that on our website. And then we have various ways that we, kind of work with people. Like I mentioned, we don't form any kind of one-on-one attorney-client relationships, but we do, offer contract templates that are tailored to health and wellness space, that are drafted for, people that are offering the kinds of services and the kinds of products that you guys are. And then all of our templates do come with a video tutorial where either Kelly, who's my co-founder, longtime best friend, attorney BFF, whether it's her or myself, we walk you through every single line of the contract, explain what it means, make sure you're confident to answer questions and kind of understand how you will tailor it for your business. And then we have, kind of our more comprehensive program, which is called the Legally Ready Bundle, where we offer kind of all of our contract templates. So, your website policies, your client services agreements, all the disclaimers, course protection, things like that. And then we have monthly Q&As where if you have questions, we kind of answer those as a community, give you, resources to look at, our feedback. And then we have a ton of training in that program too. So I think there's over 40 different on-demand legal trainings on everything from like scope of practice deep dives to what do you need to know if you're utilizing functional lab testing in your practice to, how do I handle refund requests? So we kind of wanted it to be like a one-stop resource for people to get the education they need to run their business and feel really confident about those questions they may have from a legal perspective too.
I love what you're offering, like so much, because I think, if you were to go hire a lawyer, I don't know how open they're going to be for you to ask them like how should I handle this refund request? Or, I'm looking at functional lab testing and I need some guidance there. I just don't know how many lawyers are really going to be able to give you that much kind of support and guidance. And also, it's probably going to be a little bit more of like, well, you have to come with the question and they're going to answer your question, but they're not necessarily going to be educating you and thinking of things that you may not even be thinking about yet because what do you know? And so I love that you have this library of resources so people can be, that is something that I would want to know, or maybe just kind of having in the back of your mind, like, I know there's a video about that. So if that topic ever comes up, I already know it's again getting that clarity instead of fear. Like I already know that I'm going to be prepared to handle it because there's a video or a training about it. And then I love that the Q&As are there too, to just kind of get that coaching. Navigating business is challenging, and it's not, I think, and you can probably attest to this, it's not so much always the legal nitty gritty. It's just handling these nuanced situations of how do we guide in the right direction so that we don't have more serious legal issues coming up.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I totally agree with that and think that, it can be hard to find people that really understand the health and wellness space, especially if you're offering, kind of the coaching style practice, you're working with people, maybe even across the world. It's just very hard, I think, to find people that understand that. And there's so many kind of nuanced topics that applied to those kinds of businesses. We wanted it to be very tailored to that and just have, like you mentioned, a place to go when you have a question. You could go drill down to that video, come to the Q&A, but it's fun to learn from others, as well. So I think that's been a really fun part about the community too.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. There's business owners at all different stages of business or offering different things, and you can hear about their experiences with different things too. So I love it. And I love that you have a variety of contracts available. I was just thinking in my head how many contracts I have in my business, and it's grown. I started off with just the one for the one-on-one services, and then I needed to hire someone. So then I needed that. And then I had larger clients coming in. So I needed more of like a master service agreement and statement of work. And now I have a course. So I have a one about that. And I need my website legal document. So it adds up a little bit in terms of how many contracts you need to have, but it is just going back to everything we talked about. It's about being clear and communicating with your customers and protecting yourself. So it is time well spent. It's money well spent to get these things in place.
Yes, I couldn't agree more, for sure.
Yeah. Well, we will have all of the links to your program and your socials and the 15 tips. That sounds like definitely an amazing resource for folks to check out. We'll have all of that in the show notes. Any final parting words that you want to share with us, Kristin?
No, I think that was great, Whitney. And yeah, I just would encourage people to never feel intimidated by it, that it's something that can actually be taken care of like very quickly, easily. We try to make it as fun as possible. So, it's not something that needs to feel like a mountain that's you cannot climb, that's going to take you months to figure out. It can be done pretty quickly. So, yeah.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Whitney. It was so fun chatting with you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of The Growth Show. I hope you found today's conversation with Kristin as insightful and inspiring as I did. Protecting your business legally might seem overwhelming, but with the right tools and guidance, it's entirely manageable and critical for your growth and success. Now, if you loved what Kristin shared today, be sure to grab her free guide, which is packed with actionable tips to get started. That is in the show notes. And if you are ready to take your legal protection to the next level, check out their Legally Ready bundle designed specifically for health, wellness, and nutrition professionals. And remember, you can also connect with Kristin and learn more about their work, Kelly and Kristin's work, over on Instagram at Dotted Lines Contracts. And all of this is in the show notes as well. Now, remember, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share this episode with your business bestie if they are needing some legal protections and advice and they don't know where to get started. This is the episode for them. And I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.